All right, thank you for meeting with me. So previously in your lesson plans, we've been working on summarizing your lesson plan to identify the purpose of the lesson and the connection to the rest of the unit.
Yeah.
I noticed that this was feedback that you implemented this week. What was the impact of this on your planning?
I think it helps me keep focus of where we are and where we need to be. So I tried to think of, well, at this point in our unit, students definitely have to have this thing mastered. So like how we do our group work, that protocol needs to be mastered at this point. But then also, like, what is the overall themes that we're trying to hit in the unit? How does this lesson relate to that?
Cool. And what is the impact of that on for your students?
I'll be able to have like better launches and get more buy-in because they know where we're going, and it doesn't just seem like this is just what we're doing today. It doesn't matter. It's actually like building towards something.
Great. Go ahead and write that down. Today I want to dive into identifying potential misconceptions. Thinking back to PD, why is it important to identify those potential misconceptions for students?
So you could think through what kind of prompts you can use to get them back on track, and that's not something you really have to waste a lot of time on and get stuck. With one student, you could quickly correct and keep monitoring.
Awesome. So let's take a look at an exemplar. What do you notice about how this teacher identifies the potential misconceptions?
So what was the question again? What did I notice about what?
How identify the misconceptions here?
So you first identify things to know, and then the misconceptions seem to align with those. So you said like identifying a claim, but then and provide evidence, but incorrect evidence was one of the misconceptions tied to determining the supporting evidence.
And thinking back to PD, where does those know and do's come from?
They're tied in with the standards.
Mm-hmm. And
the like just the outcomes for the lesson.
Yeah, the objective.
Yeah, the objective. Yeah.
Great. So now I want you to take a look at how you identified potential misconceptions for the same lesson. What is the gap between how you identified misconceptions and how I identified misconceptions?
So I think yours were more tied with the know and do. So I always said I was looking for evidence from the text and answering questions accurately. And I said what they might do would be create answers without textual support or fail to connect evidence. But yours were a lot more thorough.
Yeah, I think it's just a little bit more specific in relation to the standard and then your specific topic, which was about Great. So based off of what we just talked about, what do you think your action step is for this week?
An action step is to have let's identify misconceptions.
Great. That's your what? You can go ahead and write that down. Sorry.
Cool.
And how do you think we're going to do that?
We are going to do that by going through lesson plans and identifying what students need to know and do to meet objectives and standards, and then developing misconceptions based on those.
Great. So you're almost there. So step one, I said break down the standard and objective, which is what you kind of said. 2, identify the procedural and conceptual understandings of the task. Okay, and that I should do kind of here. 3 would be then identify possible misconceptions that will occur during the task. Based off of the standard and objective. And then step 4, connecting it to what we've been doing in PD. Create those prompting questions related to the procedural and conceptual understanding. Awesome. Okay, so let's take out your lesson plan for Tuesday, because this was Monday's lesson plan for next week.
Okay.
And let's go ahead and get our hands dirty a little bit. I work better on paper. I'm going to back that too if you want it. Alright, so let's take 5 minutes now to do this. Identify the potential misconceptions for Monday, or Tuesday, I'm sorry, and then we'll spar.
Okay.
Cool. finish, but it's fine.
Okay. I have chicken scratch.
So do I. Cool. I really like that for your misconceptions, you tied it to like exactly what you were saying for the know and the do. This one that I especially appreciate was like apply themes of the text to real world context, and like specifically saying that like they won't be able to make a connection between the power in the story and the real world systems in their life.
Yeah.
Is there anything from that one that you feel like you can steal?
Cause and effect relationship was one that they definitely need to know in order to master this, and I missed that one. And I think when you looked at misconceptions, you were a little more specific to the actual context of the story.
Great.
Yeah.
You can have both of those.
Awesome.
So going forward, in your lesson plans, that's what I'll be looking for your misconceptions.
Okay.
I think you were like on the right track in terms of like knowing like it was evidence, but just being like a little bit more specific and rooting it in the standard.
Cool.
Metric.
Yeah.
Cool. Any questions?
No, I think this is just something to that I've not really thought about, but I need to practice. So, do you like around similar standards? Do you like keep like a spreadsheet with those and?
That's what we were talking about during PD last week. I think that would be helpful, and that's like something that like would be a really cool like teacher toolkit for you to create. But in terms of like something that I do not.
Yeah. And then you could just like tweak
Build
it
off
to
of it.
whatever the objective of the actual text is.
Yeah.
I think one thing that I have trouble with my internalization is just being read ahead in the book far enough. So sometimes like when I'm thinking through this stuff, I'm just like not a week ahead of my students on.
Have you
text.
done the book on tape?
Yeah, I'm like, so I am ahead of my students, but I'm not quite, I think I am through next week at this point, but.
I would even recommend, like, honestly, with books on tape, like, I would even listen to them, like, during, like, moments where you feel like it's not a lot of time, but it's just, like, during your prep period while you're eating lunch or something like that, just to kind of give yourself, like, cheat a little bit with time.
Right, yeah, because, yesterday I was like, I didn't have time to read anything, I was just kind of working all day and doing laundry.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But that would be my suggestion.
Cool.
All right. Thanks, Tyler.
Thank you.